Nobody was injured after a small plane crashed near a sports field at a school in East York last night, all as a soccer game was going on.
CP24's Courtney Hills joins us live with more. And Courtney, it sounds like this plane came down in the parking lot area while many people were outside doing their things.
Yeah, so lucky. I mean, the area where this pilot managed to land the plane is literally between a soccer field and a sports stadium, which is behind me here. This is basically as close to the scene as we can get, guys. This is a parking lot. It's next to the high school. There are, staff members going in and out, but there is yellow tape up, and the actual plane is way in the back. We do know that's the focus for the Transportation Safety Board. Now we're getting some more information on what happened here. I just heard from the Transportation Safety Board. They say the plane left Aurelia last night. It was headed to Billy Bishop Airport, and they say there was engine failure. So that's when I guess this pilot decided they had to go down somewhere, and this is where they managed to land. Luckily, nobody was hurt. We talked to a number of people who were in the park at the time when this all unfolded last night. Here's more.
There was this thing coming through the trees, and it looked like a big drone the way it was up with the lights and the trees. And I said, that's not a drone. It was silent. That was the weird. And we sort of watched it disappear, and then, like, seconds later, we heard the thud. And it wasn't, I don't know, it didn't sound like a car crash. It just sounded like a bunch of wood and stuff coming together. And so we ran over from there, me and this other guy. And they were just getting out of the plane, just coming out of the plane. They were fine. She was just really messed up.
I guess they would have been shaken up a little bit.
She was so worried about her friends. She said, you almost killed my friends. And
pretty crazy. I'm surprised that 3 people walked away from that. Yeah, and we just lived to the west of here. I'm wondering if that just flew over our house, or it could have come down a little earlier.
Yeah, there's a lot of shock in this neighborhood over, how close this all is. I want to bring in CTV's aviation expert, Phil Dirty, to talk more about this. Good morning, Phil. Hearing now from the Transportation Safety Board, they confirmed that there was engine failure here. What do you think of how the pilot managed to bring the plane down here?
Well, one of the things, Courtney, is if you look at the pictures of the aircraft, you can see that the propeller is not bent, which shows that the engine did, in fact, fail. It was stopped at the time of impact. And one of the things is in private pilot training, we do practice forced landings. So if the engine has failed, what are we going to do? And we practice it over and over again. So we're going to look for a place to land. That's why sometimes you see aircraft landing on highways because they've got to put it down somewhere, and they want to go away from a populated area. Maybe the pilot was looking at that football field, that soccer field. We're not sure, but she will be interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine how frightening that would be for the pilot and even for, of course, the people on the plane at the time. I also heard from a lot of witnesses saying it was almost eerie how quiet it was, saying they really couldn't hear the plane. They just kind of noticed something and then heard the crash landing. Does that kind of line up with what you're hearing and what you can see based on the engine failure?
Well, 100%. Like, one of the things is when the engine fails, basically you're in a gliding mode. So the pilot is going to trim the aircraft to about 60 miles an hour, so about 70 miles an hour, or 61 knots, which is the optimum glide speed. They're going to be about 1,000 feet above the highest obstacle. So the pilot is going to be looking for a place to land. So she's going to maintain that glide, and it's going to be very quiet because there's no engine running. So it's going to be a quiet descent.
Yeah, I mean, I really would say almost everyone I talked to who was here last night said the same thing. It was creepy, how quiet the plane was. And then, of course, to see this happen is just so scary. The Transportation Safety Board said they had investigators here yesterday looking into the wreckage, talking to witnesses. Can you walk us through what they'll be doing to get a better assessment of what happened?
Well, one of the things, Courtney, is that this aircraft will not have a black box, right? So they won't have a cockpit voice recorder or a flight data recorder. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be interviewing the pilot, see what in fact happened. It looks like, they've already reported, it looks like an engine failure. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be checking the fuel. They're going to be checking the engine itself. They're going to be disassembling the engine to see what in fact caused the engine failure. So this is a forensic investigation. So they're going to start looking at every little piece, but the main focus right now is going to be fuel and engine.
All right, Phil Dirty is a CTV aviation expert joining us live this morning. Phil, thanks for your time and your thoughts on all this. We appreciate it.
Great. Thanks for having me, Courtney.
Thanks. So, Nick, Jen, we do know the police say this is in the hands of the Transportation Safety Board. The fire crews are still on scene. They're basically here for fire watch in case they're needed at any time. But it's not clear when, they'll actually attempt to remove what's left of the plane behind me here. And when that happens, it's likely going to be a bit of a process. I mean, it's a pretty big plane. They'll have to, tow it out, pull it away. We'll continue to talk to people about this. It really is the talk of this neighborhood this morning. Over to you.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Okay, CP24's Courtney Hills joining us live by Monarch Stadium. Thank you, Courtney.